HaKadosh Baruch Hu. Shalom Alechem, Shalom Alechem, Malachei Hasharet, Malachei Elyon, Mi Melech, Malchei Hamlachim, HaKadosh, HaKadosh Baruch Hu. Seichem l'shalom, Malchei HaShalom, Malachei Elyon, Mi Melech Malchei Hamlachim, HaKadosh Baruch Hu. Shalom Alechem, Shalom Alechem, Malachei Hasharet, Malachei Elyon, Mi Melech Malchei Hamlachim, HaKadosh, HaKadosh Baruch Hu.
We turn now to Lecha Dodi, and it's on page 38. And if you can see here, the highlighted letter spells out that's a little bit larger, and it says Shlomo Halevi. And that was the gentleman that wrote this beautiful, beautiful poem. And I would just like to take one moment for us to spend this Sabbath thinking about those who spent time to prepare for us, to prepare for our experiences, that we are people who do not live in a vacuum, that we are the aggregate of everyone who went before us, that we desperately need mentors, we need people in our life to help guide us. So I would like to spend this Shabbat thinking about those who went before us. Lecha Dodi.
Lecha Dodi likrat kala, Panei Shabbat nekabela. 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 Shamor v'zachor v'dibur echad, Ishmianu el hameuchad, Adonai echad u'shemo echad, L'shem u'tiferet v'litila. Lecha Dodi likrat kala, Panei Shabbat nekabela. Lecha Dodi likrat kala, Panei Shabbat nekabela. Boi v'shalom ateret ba'ala, Gam b'simcha u'v'sachala, Toch emunei am segula, Boi chala. Lecha Dodi likrat kala, Panei Shabbat nekabela. Lecha Dodi likrat kala, Panei Shabbat nekabela.
We've been talking this week about gratitude, and many of the conversations I've been in, actually several, was when do we do this gratitude list that we spoke about last week, that we write a list of what we are grateful for. Is it something we should do in the morning? Is it something we should do at night? Is it something we should do in the middle of the day? Our tradition talks about gratitude in the morning. And so that was something that I was always accustomed to, was writing a gratitude list in the morning. But somebody pointed out that they like to do their gratitude list at night, looking back at all the things they are grateful for in the day. And I thought that that was really nice. And I thought that it also in our tradition, we discuss gratitude in the evening. And that's the prayer we are looking at now on page 50 with Ma'ariv Aravim. We look back at our day. What did we do well? What could we do better? What are we grateful for? Ma'ariv Aravim.
El Chai v'Kayam, Tamidim Loch Aleinu Le'olam Ba'ed, Baruch Atah Adonai, Ma'ariv Aravim. Amen.
With an everlasting love, you have loved the house of Israel, teaching us your Torah, the mitzvot, laws, and judgments.
Ahavat olam Beit Yisrael amcha ahavta Torah u'mitzvot hukim u'mishpatim otanu limadeta Al kein Adonai Eloheinu v'shachbenu u'v'kumenu nasiach be'ukecha v'nismach b'divrei Toratecha u'v'mitzvotecha le'olam ba'ed ki hem chayenu ve'orech yameinu uvahem negei yomam v'layla ki hem chayenu ve'orech yameinu uvahem negei yomam v'layla ki hem chayenu ve'orech yameinu uvahem negei yomam v'layla ki hem chayenu ve'orech yameinu uvahem negei yomam v'layla ve'avatecha al tasir mimenu le'olamim baruch atah Adonai ohev amo Yisrael. Amen. Shema Yisrael Adonai Eloheinu, Adonai Echad. Ve'ahavta et Adonai Elohecha, bechol levavcha, ubechol nafshecha, ubechol meotecha, ve'hayu hadvarim ha'ele, asher anochi metzavecha, Hayom alevavecha, v'shinantam levanecha, v'dibarta bam, v'shivtecha b'veitecha, u'v'lechtecha v'derech, u'shachbecha u'v'kumecha, u'kshartam leot al yadecha, v'hayu letotafot b'neinecha, u'ktavtam al mezuzot beitecha, u'visharecha.
We take a moment to read the second paragraph of the Shema, which is found in this week's Torah portion, Ekev. Thus will you be reminded to fulfill all my commandments and be consecrated to your God. I am the Lord your God who brought you out of the land of Egypt to be your God. I, the Lord, am your God.
Adonai Elohechem emet.
And if you're able to now, we ask that you please rise as we sing together Vishamru.
Veshamru v'nei Yisrael et ha-Shabbat la'asod et ha-Shabbat ledorotam berit olam. Veshamru v'nei Yisrael et ha-Shabbat la'asod et ha-Shabbat ledorotam berit olam. Beini uvein b'nei Yisrael, oti leolam, oti leolam, oti leolam. Veshamru b'nei Yisrael et ha-Shabbat, la'asod et ha-Shabbat ledorotam berit olam. Ki sheshet yamim asa Adonai, et hashamayim ve'et haaretz veshamru v'nei Yisrael et ha-Shabbat la'asod et ha-Shabbat ledorotam berit olam. Uvayom hashvi'i Shabbat vayinafash, Shabbat vayinafash, Shabbat vayinafash leshamru b'nei Yisrael et ha-Shabbat la'asod et ha-Shabbat ledorotam berit olam.
Cantor, I think while we're standing, why don't we take a moment for the Ma'ariv Amida for the Sabbath. This is a time for us to ask for so many things, and I think right now one of the prayers that I'm going to offer is healing, and really just time for us to find ways in which to reach out to each other at this time. Take a moment and offer your prayers for the Ma'ariv Amida. O Lord, guard my tongue from evil and my lips from speaking guile. Guard my heart from hatred and my mind from harmful thoughts. Help me to avoid shameful speech as well as shameful silence. May my words be messengers of your will, humble in spirit, helpful in purpose, seeking justice and pursuing peace. O Lord, guard my spirit from weakness and my soul from gloom or despair. Strengthen my worthy desires that I may serve you in joy every day. Thus may I reflect honor on your holy name in all that I say and do.
Shalom Rav al Yisrael Amcha Tasim Leolam. Shalom Rav al Yisrael Amcha Tasim Leolam. Ki atahu melech adon lechol hashalom. Ki atahu melech adon lechol hashalom. Shalom Rav al Yisrael amcha tasim leolam. Shalom Rav al Yisrael amcha tasim leolam. V'tov beinecha levarech et amcha Yisrael b'chol eit u'b'chol sha'a b'shlomecha. Shalom Rav al Yisrael amcha tasim leolam. Shalom Rav al Yisrael amcha tasim leolam. Tasim leolam. Tasim leolam.
If you're standing, please be seated. Want to take this moment in our service to offer prayers for those who are in need of healing spiritually and mentally and also physically. So as we sing this beautiful Misha Berach, have in mind and have in your hearts those who are in need of healing.
Misha Berach Avotenu Makor HaBracha Limotenu. Bless those in need of healing with refuah shlema, the renewal of body, the renewal of spirit. And let us say, Amen.
I was expecting another verse.
So was I, but when you skip it, it's hard to go back to it.
So we ask for a speedy recovery for those in need, and we all say amen. I want to try something, actually, if you don't mind. I don't know how, but oftentimes, now that we're moving back into this format, I want to offer that perhaps you can put the names of those who are in need of healing in the chat. And that way, I'll leave the chat open, and then that way we can see the names. One of the most important aspects of the Mishaberach, which we do on the Sabbath when the Torah is taken out, we say a Mishaberach. We say many different Mishaberachs, one of which is the Mishaberach for those in need of healing, or for the holy and those who are sick. But it's been my experience that the most important part of that is that you hear the names. In some instances, you might not know who is ill, who is sick. And when you come to the community's reading of the Torah, we come together as a community and we hear those names that we may not hear throughout the week. And so when you hear the names, then you are able to reach out and help. And so one way I think to do that is to maybe put it in the chat. If you don't know how to do that, we can work with you. But I'd like to explore that. As we explore different ways to interact with each other. And if you're comfortable putting the names of those, Hebrew name, obviously, if you have that, if not, the English works just fine. But that moving forward, we can put the names of those who are in need of healing in our chat. That way the community will know. Just the thought, and I think we're going to try that. You know what, we're going to do it. We're just going to do it. Okay, so just a few words of Torah before we conclude our service. And it's so good to see all of you. This is, for me, a highlight of my week, and I know it's a highlight of the week for our family, is that we get a chance to see all of you and we all sit down together. It's also a very it's actually a sad day today for me personally. Rabbi Adin Steinsaltz passed away today, and just a gadolim, just a huge rabbi in the Jewish world. And I just want to share with you what impact he had on my life, and that the most important thing that we can do as people is to continue the memory of someone by the acts that they gave in love. And the acts that Adin Steinsaltz, Rabbi Steinsaltz, gave to the Jewish people were countless, but I think some of the most important you'll be able to see in just some brief experiences. When I was really getting interested in Judaism, you find out very quickly what your abilities are in Hebrew. You find out very quickly what your abilities are in studying Jewish text, ancient Jewish text. And when I was in my 20s, I fell in love with Judaism. I fell in love with just everything that it had to offer, but I didn't have the keys that I needed to get into what I experienced to be the most important texts, and that was the Talmud, and that was written in Aramaic, and I just didn't have those skill sets. And so I remember coming to a place where I felt behind. And that's something that many of us may suffer, that we feel behind and that we have to catch up. And so I studied for years trying to master Hebrew, and I studied for years trying to master Aramaic. And the first thing that I ever experienced was Adin Steinsaltz's English edition of the Talmud, which opened up an entire world, and in the language that I was most comfortable with. He spent years, not to even say decades, working on creating texts and creating tools to help people who didn't have the skill set to touch the Jewish texts in a way that they weren't able to access because they just didn't have the ability. And the hope was, and I think this is something we can learn, the hope was so that I wouldn't always rely on the English, but that I could learn the Hebrew in a way that could help me. And that's what he did for me. That's what his ability to be able to teach people where they were at so that they could go to the next level. And so what I found is that those who are familiar with Steinsaltz, he also put out an entire translation of the Talmud in modern Hebrew. And my Hebrew was then at this point strong enough to understand that, but my Aramaic wasn't strong enough, so that I learned through the Hebrew to learn the Aramaic. Finally, I was able to, don't get me wrong, my Aramaic could use some work, but I was able to really access the text because of this hard work that he did, because his passion, and you'll hear this from many different sources, his passion was to make accessible those things which people thought they couldn't get to because they didn't have the education. And so this week, I want to commit to helping people, commit to reaching out to people and where they are at and helping them and guiding them like a mentor, like somebody who can teach them in a way that they can hear so that they can get to the next level. Each and every one of you knows something. Each and every one of you has something special to offer. Each and every one of you is unique in your own way. And it is that uniqueness and specialness that you need to teach to the next person. And without you, there is no way that we can as a community grow. And so this week, please, please, over the Sabbath, take some time, dedicate some time thinking about what it is that you are going to teach to somebody this week that they may not know, so that they can get to that next level. If we all were to do this, if we were all to take a moment and really find out how we can better serve our community through teaching those that what they could learn, we would be in a much different space. Dean Steinsaltz, of course, was just a Gedolim, and it's very hard actually for me to speak right now. It's been shocking because he was next to the Lubavitcher Rebbe, Rabbi Menachem Mendel Schneerson of Chabad. He is the most recognizable rabbi in American Judaism in the 20th century, and certainly the 21st century. And it is a great loss to each and every one of us. But the gains that we made as a people and the gains that we have made as a community because of his prolific writing. He also wrote on a lot of different things, some of which you are familiar with, the 13 Petal Rose. I could go on and on, but now I feel as though I'm blabbing. So when I say the Kaddish tonight, please have in mind also this Gedolim, this great teacher in Israel, and may we learn from him to teach those as we move forward what we know. Shabbat Shalom. We continue with Aleinu. If you can, please rise.
Aleinu l'shabeach ladon hakol, latet gedula leotzer breshit, shalo asanu kagoye haratzot, velo samanu kemishpachot ha'adama, shalo sam chelkenu kahem, vegor aleinu kechol hamonam, va'anachnu korim, umishtachavim umodim, Lifnei melech, malchei hamelachim, hakadosh baruch hu, shehu notei shamayim ve'yoser haaretz, u'moshav yikaro b'shamayim ha'al, u'shchinatu zo, begavei meromim, hu Eloheinu ein od, emet malkeinu efezulato, Kakatu betorato, v'yadata hayom, bahashevota, elevavecha, ki Adonai hu ha'Elohim, v'shamayim imhal, ve'al haaretz, mitachat, einod. Ba, 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 ba.
For sovereignty is yours into all eternity. You will reign in glory, as is written in your Torah. The Lord shall reign forever and ever, and it has been foretold the Lord shall be sovereign over all the earth. On that day the Lord shall be one and shall be acclaimed as one. Kakatuv b'toratecha, Adonai imloch le'olam v'ahed.
V'nehemar v'haya Adonai lamelech al kol haaretz v'yom hahu yeh Adonai echad u'shemo echad.
We ask those who are mourning or observing Yortzeit, please remain standing. May the memories which we cherish and lovingly now recall inspire us to live, that we too may bequeath a heritage of precious memories to those whom we shall leave behind. In tribute to our departed, may we enrich the lives we touch. May we share and preserve the faith which our mourners will now affirm as they rise to sanctify God's name in the hollow words of the Kaddish. And this week, we observe the Yortzeits of Leon Letterman, father of Gary Letterman, Simon Bookbinder, father of Jeffrey Bookbinder, Betty Weinberger, grandmother of Michelle Griffin, Alex Levine, brother-in-law of Irene Levine, Rose Wolf, mother of Linda Docks, Hattie Stern, mother of Judith Wolf. The Mourner's Kaddish can be found on page 124 of our Siddur, or please find a Kaddish in the Siddur that you are using. We say together, Yitkadal v'yitkadash shemei rabbah, ve'amad divrah chirutei ve'amlich malchutei, v'chayechon uv'yomechon uv'chaye dechol beit Yisrael, bagala v'zman kariv imru, amen. Yehei shmei rabbam v'rach le'olam u'me'omaya, yitbarach v'yishtabach v'yitba'ar v'yitramam v'yitnaseh, v'yitadar v'yitalev v'yitalal shemei dekudsha b'richu. Le'ela min kol birchata v'shirata, tushbechata v'nechemata, da'amiram bi'alma v'imru, amen. Yehei shlama rabba min shemaya, v'chaim aleinu v'al kol Yisrael v'imru, amen. Osei shalom ben Ramav, huya asei shalom, aleinu v'al kol Yisrael v'imru, amen. May God, who makes harmony and peace in the heights, grant us harmony and peace here for us, for all Israel and all humankind. And we all say, amen. I want to wish you all a Shabbat Shalom, and it's so wonderful to see you all. May we find this Sabbath to be one of Shabbat Vayinafash, restful, and a soulful, spiritful, restful Sabbath. So we all rise as we say Kiddush to welcome in this Sabbath. If you have grape juice or wine, grab some. If not, I can make you yotzi, as they say on this Kiddush here. Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam borei peri hagafen. Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam asher kiddushanu b'mitzvotav v'ratzavanu. Shabbat kodsho v'avav ratzon hinchilanu, zikaron lema'aseh v'reishit, ki hu yom techila lamikra'e kodesh, zecher l'tziat mitzrayim, ki banu v'acharta, ve'otanu kidashta, mikol ha'amim, V'shabbat kodshecha, v'ahava uratzon, hinchaltanu, Baruch atah Adonai, mekadesh hashabbat. L'chaim. Before we unmute everyone and wish you all a Sabbath, a wonderful Shabbat Shalom, I want to say a great Yasher Koach to each and every one of you, and a Yasher Koach to our cantor for leading us, that we will continue on Zoom for the foreseeable future on Friday nights. So please just be aware of some of the changes, but we tried to keep you informed of all those changes. We also will be having Shabbat services tomorrow at 10 o'clock. Look forward to seeing you there as well. But most importantly, the most important